Are you mechanically inept like me? Do you want to rank up out of low ELO and are tired of tips videos just telling you to just get better aim? Or maybe are you cracked but for some bizarre reason just can't get out of gold? Well, I think this is the video for you. Hi, my name is John, my mechanics suck, I'm a boomer, and somehow I am in Diamond. And I'm going to give you some of the tips I've used to improve my gameplay and climb within the lower ranks. These tips will not include anything mechanically based, so you can start implementing them into your gameplay today. But before we go any further, if you want to see some more ranked Valorant content, tips and other bits, drop me a subscribe, hit that notification bell to see all the content I release in the future. Now, I just want to start by saying I don't think improving mechanics isn't worth it. It definitely is. But as long as you don't have some terrible habits, over time your mechanics should improve. And if you take some time to warm up, practice your aim, movement, crosshair placement and peeking, then you will start to see some improvement. But these things do take time, and honestly, the Valorant YouTube scene is currently littered with mechanics tips and tricks and how to improve. So just having another video of saying how you can improve your mechanics to get out of low ranks was kind of pointless. So I wanted to give you guys some tips that I've seen people doing wrong in bronze to diamond and that I think people can genuinely use to help rank up today. So without that being said, let's get straight into the video. Tip number 1, value your life more. Now, I know this sounds stupid, and I'm sure I've already lost some of you thinking, hey, this dude's dumb, but just hear me out for a second. Being alive and around is the single best way to have an impact on the outcome. Yes, you can make calls for your team whilst you're dead, but you can't get kills or use util, and you are leaving it all up to chance. There are plenty of people that I play against and with who will peak main at the beginning of every single round and die within the first 20 seconds. If you have an average game of around 20 rounds and you peak main or mid or wherever and die within those first 10 seconds, regardless of how many kills you may or may not get, you are alive for a maximum of 3 minutes out of a possible 30 to 35 minutes of a game. So you have a 10% impact on that game and you are leaving your team to decide the other 90% of that game. How can you expect to start consistently winning games if you have such a little impact on the overall outcome of that game? You can even get a kill or maybe two. Dropping 20 kills in a whole game is pretty decent, but it doesn't matter if your team have to decide the majority of that game for you. Also, having one extra person to worry about for the enemy team does a huge difference. It's that one extra gun that could potentially lead to a death. It's that one extra part of the map that could potentially be watched to stop flanks. It's a one set of util that might have to be avoided or played around. And it's one extra person that they have to beat to win a round. Being alive can give you a great impact, so regardless of whether you can peak, get 2 kills and pad your stats, trying to stay alive and have more impact in round by round is a much better way of playing the game and improving your chances at winning rounds. Tip number 2, understanding your role in the team. Now, I've played with a lot of people who remain one agent and one agent only, but don't really understand what impact or role that agent has on a team. I can understand why this sometimes isn't always obvious because some agents can have a different role depending on the other agents in the lineup. For example, a lone Reyna has a very different role than if she's paired with another duelist like a Jet or a Raze. In the same way that KO can have a very different role depending on if there's another initiator, or maybe even play the role as a second entry in the times where there's only one duelist and that duelist is very entry focused like Jet, Raze or Neon. Understanding the role of your agent comes down to what your agent does and what your team needs, is lacking or already has. There is a great video by Wahujin on the different types of utilities that agents have in Valorant. He talks about mainly how to play around them from an enemy perspective, but the same can be said for your team. You might be playing Omen, but your team doesn't have a flash or a blind, so you'll have to help in some form of way to help the team entry by using your paranoia to push places. Or maybe, if you already have another controller, but no duelist with movement abilities, you can utilize his abilities to take space for your team on attack. It can differ from game to game, and just because you have one role and one comp doesn't mean it's the same for the next. So just take some time to look at what your team offers, where you fit into it, and how you can be used as effective as possible in that team comp. This will help you maximize the value each agent has, but also relies heavily and segues nicely into tip number 3. Tip number 3, use your abilities more. I am genuinely amazed about how many people I play with, just in Diamond as well, who play the game day after day, are easily a couple hundred levels, and yet will average one ability per round. Valorant is a hero shooter, and as much as I get told I'm cringe for calling that out, and believe you me, you can go and Google this now. If you Google Valorant, it will say that it is a hero shooter, but it is a hero shooter. Abilities in this game is what makes Valorant Valorant. Not using abilities would be like playing COD without any weapons, or trying to play Minecraft without building. You might as well just be playing another game. There's no point in playing that specific game. And with tip number 2, now that you understand your role in your comp, you need to be utilizing your abilities. Otherwise, putting all that focus on what your role is within that specific comp is nothing. It's meaningless. Too many players either use abilities pointlessly. I'm looking at the Sova mains who dart sight right at the beginning of every round without your team pushing off of it, providing little to no impact, and they just get shot out anyway. So what does that dart do? Or just don't use abilities just in general. So many people play duelists and don't use flashes to swing corners or push sights. So many sentinels not putting down trips to watch flanks and they get killed from behind. It's like playing the game on hard mode. And if you're sitting there thinking, hey, not me, I use abilities all the time, false, definitely false. Seriously, think about it. Though. I know that I use abilities a lot, but even I know that there are plenty of games where I don't have an average that is close to or one ability or one use of ability per round. Now, I'm not going to go into how to use every bit of utility or when to use it, but a good idea to help is to have a plan before using each piece of utility. If you think about the plan each time, it should help you question things like, is this a bit of util going to be useful for my team? Is this going to do something? As well as understand what the desired outcome you're looking for. Ultimately, as long as that outcome is either helping your team or making it harder for their team to do their jobs respectively, it's probably a good use of the ability. And for the love of God, please stop holding onto your ults for 9 rounds. It's painful to watch. Just use the ult. And then farm ult orbs later to get another one. In one half of a Fracture game as Breach, I can manage to ult 3 to 4 times. And more often than not, their team starts crying because of how many times they're going to get Breach ulted. And believe you me, it actually helps us win more rounds. So just start ulting more. Tip number 4, and strangely this links to the last 2, if you haven't guessed it yet, these all kind of connect in some way, but start communicating with your team more. It is 2023. Almost every single headset that is sold has a microphone. So to the people who keep telling me, I don't have a mic, why are you lying? Look, I get that some people online can be dicks. If they are, just mute them, and if the whole team is, then mute them and go next. But you can't just not communicate in a game like Valorant, especially in ranked. As mentioned before, like we're playing without abilities, playing without comms, which provide intel and also help you make plans, is literally playing on hard mode. Just knowing what your team is planning to do. Are they holding a specific angle? Did they hear or see something that might be useful? Are they rotating? All of these things can make your playing experience a lot easier. There is a reason why people prefer playing in groups and will join discords to have comms with people, even if these people are random strangers, because games with comms are a lot better than without. Not having to spend every other second checking your map for what your teammates see, what they are doing, where they are going, what are they holding, is there an area of the map that's not covered, is genuinely very useful because it allows you to actually focus on what you're doing rather than spending your entire time focused on what you might not be seeing. And if you think this sounds like me saying, hey, your teammates need to do more for you, it's not. You need to be communicating more. Telling them what your plan is to do for this round or what you want to do this round, asking them to use util for you. Also notice how I said ask, not tell. That is very important. Tell them what you see, what you hear, what you're currently doing. It will really help you and your teammates have a better playing experience and will ultimately help you guys play a lot better. Hopefully in turn as well, if they see you communicating better, they will also start communicating and it will just make the overall experience a much better one. And to round this off, tip number 5, stop blaming other people. I think we all knew this one was coming, right? It kind of feeds into all of these. How many times have you peaked or run it down early and died and no one was near you? And I'm sure your first response has been, oh, what a trash team. They're not following me in. They're not trading me. But before you start pressing that push to talk button and start screaming down the mic to the people that you're playing with, have a think. Did you tell them that you plan to run it down? Did you ask them to follow in or bait you? Did you use any utility or abilities to take the first gunfight? Are you even playing the right role to be doing a push like that? Or are you playing someone like Brim and you thought a stim and the W key would be a good idea, but now your team is without any smokes? There are a lot of instances where players will try and blame anyone but themselves, even going as far to say that the other team are cheating, smurfing or hacking, even though all you've done is just run into a jet with an op 4 rounds in a row without trying to smoke off their angles, use utils to find out where they are, flash them, blind them, or use movement abilities to drag their attention as someone else swings them. More importantly, constantly looking elsewhere will never help you improve. Valorant, like a lot of skills, sports, games, and other things in life, will just continue to progress, change, and improve. So if you don't, and you just don't work towards growing or improving yourself, you're going to start moving backwards rather than forwards. So focusing on other people is nothing but detrimental for you and your rank. Focus on yourself, look at what you could have done better, and try to work on these things moving forward. Now, I know that these tips probably seem very simple, but I can promise you I play with and have played with so many people from bronze all the way to low ascendants who still do these mistakes. And if they were just to spend a little bit of time looking into this, starting focusing on these things and implementing them into their games, they would be a lot better than they currently are and could potentially be even higher ranks than they are. But hey, if you don't believe me, that's fine. Why don't you head over to my Twitch or maybe follow me on TikTok so you can see my gameplay firsthand. Then you can see just how terrible I am mechanically, and you can see how I use these tips to outplay people on a regular basis and get myself up to diamond and now hopefully push ascendant as well. But anyway, if you stayed around this long, I really appreciate it, and would appreciate you even more if you could drop the video a like, drop a subscribe, press that notification bell to keep up to date with all future videos. And if you do start implementing these, come back to the video later on and please comment what tip you think helped out the most. But anyway, thank you for watching, have a great day, and see you in the next one.